Hi everyone. So in this video we'll explain 70 important interview questions and answers for the QA automation role. So in the 70 questions I will explain 15 questions related to Java, very important, and then Selenium and test engine related 33 important questions and answers, and after that I will explain API related questions, 21 questions will be around that. We'll discuss about how to explain Selenium Java test engine automation framework. In interviews, like there will be definitely this question like, oh, have you worked on framework, and what is your framework, so explain about your framework. So whenever they ask, you have to mention all these points that I have mentioned here. Like in my organization we are using tools like Selenium Java test ng and data driven framework. Then mention about data driven framework, explain it like, what is data driven framework. It is a method of separating data set from test case. Once data set separated from test cases, data set can be easily modified for a specific functionality without changing the code. So similarly you have to explain about data driven framework. Then explain Maven or Gradle depending upon where you work. Like if you have worked on Maven, then explain about Maven, and you can mention about Gradle if you have worked on Gradle. So it is a build tool that provides everything related to development of project, and provides different folders and important file like pom.xml. So about after that you have to explain about page object model pom. So in this POM you can mention about the project structure, about base class, utility class, page classes, and test classes. For each web page we have page class and test class, and all the variables and methods name in that class will be the functionality that we are performing. Also mention like base class, we have code to open the browser, open the application URL, to switch between environments, to switch between browsers. And in the utility class we write the code to fetch data from Excel sheet, taking screenshot when methods fail. Then in the page classes we write the code for functionality for respective pages. For each web page we have page class, right? So for all the methods, all the functions that we are performing on that page, we will be writing on the page class. And in the test classes we just call the methods from the page class, and we validate the results here. And we will just call the methods in test classes from the page classes. Okay. And then explain about page factory. Page factory, it is used to initialize driver with the web elements in each web page, in each page classes, right? So in each page class we need page factory to initialize the driver with the web elements. Then explain about testng. It is an automation testing framework used to execute test cases, and also mention the advantages of testng, like a parallel testing is possible, grouping is possible, advanced annotations are there. Also we can use keywords. Also we can generate testng.xml files for the to perform the specific execute the specific test cases. Then explain about a POM file, like what kind of dependencies you have added in the POM, like Selenium WebDriver, dependency, Apache POI dependency, Apache POI is to fetch data from Excel sheet. Then mention about WebDriver Manager dependency we have added for compatibility testing. After that you have to explain about folders and files that are present inside your framework. So mention about like test data. In test data we have Excel sheet from which we fetch the data, and in the screenshot folder we save all the failed test cases, a screenshot of the failed test cases. And in the config file we have important data like username, password, URLs, a different environment. So mention about that. And then mention about reports, like what kind of reports you are using. If you are using just testng, then mention about it. If you are using extent reports, then also mention about extent reports. And after that you have to explain about GitHub repository, or wherever you are saving the repository, just mention about it, like a code hosting platform where we push our code. After writing the code on our local system, we push our code to the GitHub repository. And after that you can mention about Jenkins or Azure DevOps, whatever your organization you are using, then mention about that. Like it is a tool that is used to schedule the job, and it runs every day, and we can easily go and check the results every day. So yeah, this is all about the Selenium Java Testng automation framework. So I have explained about data driven framework. You can also change as per your organization, like you can test driven framework or keyword driven framework. So as per you have worked on, so you can change the things in this explanation. Yeah, that is it. Thank you. Hi everyone. So in this video we'll discuss about highly important core Java questions. So post this video I will explain about the Selenium Testng related questions, and so let's discuss about Java questions in this video. So very first question is, what is difference between JDK, JRE and JVM? So JVM is a Java virtual machine. It is an engine that runs Java program, converts bytecode into machine code, manages memory, heap stack, and handles garbage collection. So this is the work of JVM. JRE, Java Runtime Environment. It provides the environment to run the Java application, does not allow development, no compiler. Then we have JDK. JDK is a Java development kit. It provides tools to develop, compile and run Java application. So this is all about JVM, JRE and JDK. Then we have second question as explain OOPS concepts with real example. Okay, OOPS is a object oriented programming is a programming approach that uses objects and follows encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism and abstraction to make code reusable, secure and easy to maintain. Then we have first encapsulation. So there are four types of OOPS concept. The first one is encapsulation. It means wrapping data and methods into a single unit and hiding internal details from outside access. For example, a capsule medicine is inside. You can't see or modify it directly. So this is the real-time example. Then we have second OOPS concept is inheritance. It allows one class to acquire properties and behavior of another class. Example, child inherits traits from the parent, right? So there are four different types of inheritances: single level inheritance, multi-level inheritance, multiple inheritance and hierarchical inheritance. So that we'll discuss in the next question. Then we have third OOPS concept as abstraction. It means hiding implementation details and showing only essential features. Example, ATM machine. You know how to withdraw the cash, but you don't know internal bank logic. So that is the example. And types are abstract class and interface are the types of abstractions. Then we have fourth as a polymorphism. It means one object which has many forms. A real world example is a person can be employee at office, parent at home, customer in a shop, right? Then the types of polymorphism are compile time polymorphism, which is also called as method overloading. Example is method overloading. And runtime polymorphism, example is method overriding. Okay, so these are the OOPS concepts. So the next question is the difference between abstract class and interface. So we know that interface and abstract class are the types of abstraction, right? Then let's know the difference between interface and abstract class. It is very important question. Interface, it has only abstract methods, and in the abstract class we have, it has both abstract and complete methods, right? Then in interface it has implementation class to execute abstract methods, and in abstract class it has concrete class to execute the abstract methods. So those are the classes where we create the object of that class. Like for implementation class here in interface, and of the concrete class we can create the object and we can execute all the methods in the abstract class. So third one is multiple inheritance. It supports interface supports multiple inheritance, and abstract class it doesn't support multiple inheritance. Then fourth one is access modifiers are public by default, public in the interface, but in abstract class any private, protected, default, public, any access modifiers can be anything here in the abstract class. Then fifth one is a variable are public and static final in interface, and here instance variables are allowed in the abstract class. These are the important differences between interface and abstract classes. So next question is, what is inheritance and types of inheritance in Java? So okay, so it allows one class to acquire properties and behavior of another class. So that is called as inheritance, or like as I explained. Example is child inherits traits from the parent. So that is example, the real-time example. So there are four types of inheritance. Single level inheritance, one subclass acquires properties of superclass. There are only two classes in single level inheritance, but in multi-level inheritance it takes between three or more classes. That is called as a multi-level inheritance. here occurs when a class inherits from a class that already inherits from another class. So this inheritance takes place between three classes or more than that. So this is how it will look: parent to child and child to grandchild, like this. Then a third one is multiple inheritance. One subclass acquires properties of two superclasses at the same time. Java does not support it due to ambiguity issue. What is that? That is in detail I will explain in other video, but just keep in mind Java does not support this multiple inheritance. We can perform multiple inheritance using the interface, as I explained here. Multiple inheritance support by interface, right? But Java doesn't support it. Then fourth one is a hierarchical inheritance. Two or more than two subclasses acquires properties of one superclass. So this is referred as a hierarchical inheritance. So those are the four important types of inheritance. Next question is the difference between array and array list. So array static in size, array list dynamic in size. Size can increase here in array list, but in array it's static. Array can be multidimensional, but array list always a single dimensional. Array, to add elements inside the array we have assignment operator, that is double equal to, but in the array list we have add method to add the elements, and in array to iterate array we use for loop, for each loop, but in array list we use iterator cursor used to iterate array list. So there is a cursor types, list iterator, then set iterator, vectors. So there are different types here, types of cursors, but we use iterator cursor. High performance due to fixed size in the array, and in the array list low performance due to resize operations. What are collections? Difference between list and set. So this is also important question. Collection, it is a framework which provides a set of classes and interfaces for storing and manipulating group of objects. So this is important definition. Just keep in mind it is a framework which provides a set of classes and interfaces for storing and manipulating group of objects. So the properties of collection are: it is growable in nature, can hold homogeneous and heterogeneous objects, we can modify particular index value, it provides efficient storage and better manipulation for data. So the difference between list and set is list is interface, it is also set is also interface. In the list, list can add duplicate element. A set, no duplicate element is allowed in set. In list interface, multiple null insertion is possible. Here single null insertion is possible in set interface. So to implement the list interface, we have implementation classes like array list, vector, linked list, hash set. Sorry, hash set is of this linked hash set. Sorry, I have to provide the space here. Okay, so this is the part of this set, right? So in the set, implementation classes are hash set, linked hash set, and tree set. And then in the list we have elements by position accessed. In the set, elements by position not accessed. So those are the important differences between list and set. What is a map and difference between hash map and hash table? Okay, so it is an interface represents a collection of key value pair where a key is unique and associated with exactly one value. A map stores, hash map stores data in key value pair. Key value pair is called as a entries. Duplicate keys are not allowed, but values can be duplicate. So those are the important properties of map. Hash map, hash table. So in the hash map not synchronized, hash table is synchronized. A hash map allows a single null key and multiple null values, but hash table not allowed. Hash map is faster, hash table is slower. Hash map used when thread safety not needed, and hash table used when thread safety is required. Okay, need to move to that side. Okay, used when thread safety is required, right? The next question is, how does equals differ from equals? So this is the assignment operator and this is the equals method, right? So let's check what equals mean. Double equals compares object references or private or primitive values, whereas equals compares the actual content of object. Okay, so double equal to, are they the same person? It checks are they the same person, and equals check do they have the same details, name and ID. Okay, for example, integer a is equal to 10, integer b is equal to 10, and when we use a is equal to b, so it will return as a true, right? Because we have same content, it checks the content, right? But in the string str is one, String s1 is equal to new string java, string s2 is equal to new string java, and when we use s1 is equal to s2, it will return as false, because here the different memory is used here, right? And when we use s1 dot equals s2, it will return as true, because it checks the uh, details, like this java is same as this java, right? This is the difference between double equal to and equal to. It checks the memory, it checks the content, same content, right? So this is important question. And what is the next question is, what is string, string buffer and string builder? Okay, so string is a collection of characters. String is a non-primitive data type. Immutable, cannot be changed once created. Strings, any modification creates a new class. Thread safe by default, and stored in a string constant pool area. So this is the memory type, constant pool and non-constant pool area. Okay. Then a string buffer, it is a mutable class in Java used to create and modify strings. Mutable can be modified, thread safe, synchronized, slower due to synchronization, used in multi-threaded environment. Then string builder, it is a mutable class in Java used to create and modify strings. It is mutable, non-thread safe, faster than string buffer, and used in single threaded environment. What is exception handling? Checked versus unchecked exceptions. Exception handling in Java is a mechanism to handle runtime errors so that the normal flow of the program is maintained. Checked exceptions are handled at compile time, while unchecked exceptions occur at runtime. Checked exceptions are, for example, exception, file not found exception, and class not found exception. Whereas unchecked exceptions are arithmetic exception, array index out of bound exception, number formatting exception. So those are the examples of unchecked exceptions. Then the next question is, what is final, finally, and finalize? Final is a keyword used to restrict the modification of final variable. When we use final for the variable, so value cannot be changed. When we use final for method cannot be overridden. And when we use final for the class, then class cannot be inherited to other classes, right? Finally is a block used to exception handling that always executes whether an exception occurs or not. Used for cleanup code, closing files, and DB connections. So finally, it is a block where we use in try catch while handling the exceptions. Finalize is, it is a method of the object class that is called by the garbage collector before an object is destroyed. Used for cleanup before object removal, not reliable, deprecated in newer Java versions. The next question is, what is static keyword? The static keyword in Java is used to create class level members that belongs to the class itself rather than the object. Static methods cannot access non-static variables directly. Static members are loaded before object creation. Static variables, memory allocated ones used for constants or common values. Static method can be called without creating an object, can access only static members. Static block executes once when the class is loaded, used for initialization. So that is a static block. Then the next question is, what is method overloading and method overriding? Okay, so this is method overloading and overriding. Here the definition parameters. So here same method name and different parameters are there in the method overloading, but in method overriding, method same method name and same parameters. Okay, let me shift it. Same method name and same parameters. Here the different parameters, right? In method overloading, class is the same class in method overloading, and in overriding, parent and child class. Also inheritance is needed here in method overriding. So polymorphism, it's a compile time polymorphism, and it's a runtime polymorphism. Then parameters must be different, must be same here. Then a run type is a can vary with parameters and same or covariant. Okay, then access modifier is here any in overloading, but cannot reduce visibility here. Then static methods can be overloaded and cannot be overridden. In the method overriding is not possible for the static methods. And final methods can be overloaded but cannot be overridden. Okay, so the next question is, how does garbage collection works? Garbage collection works by identifying unreachable objects in heap memory and automatically freeing their space. Object creation, objects are created using new stored in heap memory. Object becomes unreachable, and an object is eligible for GC when reference is set to null. Reference is reassigned, object is out of scope, mark phase. So this is how garbage collection works. It identifies the unreachable objects in heap memory and automatically freeing their space for the when there are reference is set to null. Right. reference is reassigned there. Okay, then what is immutable class? An immutable class is a class whose objects cannot be changed once they are created. If any modification is required, a new object is created instead of changing the existing one. Class is a final, prevents inheritance. All fields are private and final. Value cannot be modified. No setter methods, no way to change state. Fields are initialized only through constructor. So these are the important 15 questions of related to Java. So just go through all of them and prepare well. So in 15 minutes you can revise these questions, and those are very important. Yeah, that is it. Thank you. Hi everyone. So in this video we'll discuss about Selenium important interview questions. In the last video we have already discussed about Java important questions. So let's understand these important questions related to Selenium. So very first question is, what is Selenium and why Selenium is used? So Selenium is an open source tool used for automating web applications across different browsers and platforms. Why Selenium used? Because it supports multiple languages, browsers, and operating systems, integrates well with CI/CD tools, and it's cost effective. So this is about Selenium. Then we have components of Selenium: IDE, WebDriver, and Grid. So let's understand them. So Selenium IDE, a browser extension used to record and playback test cases, used for creating basic test script. Then Selenium WebDriver, the core concept component of Selenium used to automate browsers programmatically. It supports multiple languages: Java, C Sharp, Python, and JavaScript. Supports multiple browsers as well. Then Selenium Grid used to run tests in parallel across multiple machines and browsers. Parallel execution, cross-browser testing simultaneously, and cross-platform testing is also possible in the Selenium Grid. So these are the three different Selenium components. Then next question is difference between get method and navigate.to method. So both get and navigate.to method are used to open a URL in Selenium. The main difference is that navigate provides additional browser navigation methods like back, forward, and refresh, while get is mainly used for loading a web page. And also it takes time to load the web page completely, get method, but it will not wait for the page to completely load, the navigate method, right? Okay, the next question is, what are locators and what is a most reliable locator? So locators are used in Selenium to identify web elements on a web page. So there are 8 different types of locators: tag name, ID name, class name, link text, partial link text, then CSS selector, and XPath. So ID is considered the most reliable and fastest locator because it is unique and stable. If ID is not available, CSS selector is generally preferred over XPath for better performance. Then fifth question is a difference between find element and find elements. So find element returns the first matching web element and throws no such element exception if not found. Find elements returns a list of matching elements and returns an empty list if none are found. It is safer for validating element presence. The next question is, what is WebDriver interface? WebDriver is an interface in Selenium that defines methods to control a web browser. Browser specific drivers like Chrome driver, Firefox driver implements this interface. It allows automation script to interact with different browsers using the same set of methods. So basically it provides different Chrome driver and Firefox driver. It is a specific driver, right? Interface, web driver interface. Okay, so this is about WebDriver interface. The next question is the difference between close and quit method. So close closes only the current browser window, and whereas quit closes all the browser windows and ends the WebDriver session completely. Quit is generally used at the end of test execution to clean up all the resources. So that's the difference between close and quit. How do you handle a browser pop-ups? So to handle browser pop-ups in Selenium, first identify the type of pop-up. So there are 6 different types of pop-ups. JavaScript alerts are handled using a switch.to alert. So there are 6 different types of pop-ups. First is hidden division, where we can inspect that division, inspect that cross icon, and we can click on that icon like that. That is referred as hidden division. Then we have alert pop-up, and we have then after alert we have this pop-up, different window pop-up. So it will open the new window to switch the window, and then other are related to download, upload, and like those. So hidden division pop-ups are handled using normal locators. Authentication pop-ups can be handled by passing credentials in the URL or using browser options. Each pop-up type requires a different handling approach. So yeah, so mainly we will be having alert and hidden division, and this switch window. Switch window is also important. I will explain the in the next separate question how to switch the windows. So that is also important question. So let's understand the next question. What is page object model? So page object model is a design pattern in Selenium where each web page is represented as a separate class containing web elements and related actions. It improves code maintainability, reusability, and readability by separating test logic from page logic. Why do we use actions class? We use the actions class in Selenium to handle complex user interactions like a mouse hover, drag and drop, right click, double click, and keyboard combinations that cannot be performed using basic WebDriver methods. Actions act is equal to new actions driver, then act dot move to element dot perform. So this element will be web element is equal to driver dot find element by dot xpath or css, and how then we will use that variable element here. So these are the actions that we handle using the actions class. How to handle dropdown in Selenium? So in Selenium, dropdown are handled using the select class when the dropdown is built with a select tag. For custom dropdowns built using div or li element, we handle them using normal click actions. For multi-select dropdowns, we use is multiple and deselect methods. Web element is equal to driver dot find element by dot xpath. Select id is equal to month. Then select is equal to new select element and select dot select by text, and this will be the march. Again we have select by visible text. I guess it's select by visible text, not visible text, and select by index and select by value. So these are the three different methods we will be using to select the value from the drop down. Then we have next is how do you handle dynamic elements. So dynamic elements are handled by creating dynamic XPath or CSS locators using functions like contains and starts with. We use explicit wait to handle the loading delays and relocate elements to handle stale element exceptions. Driver.find element by .xpath input contains id user. Difference between implicit wait and explicit wait and fluent wait. Implicit wait is applied globally and waits for element presence. Explicit wait waits for a specific condition for a particular element. Fluent wait is in advanced version for explicit wait that allows custom polling time and exception handling. Implicit wait is used like driver.manage.timeouts.implicit wait duration dot of seconds. Explicit wait WebDriver wait is equal to new WebDriver wait driver comma duration dot of second wait dot until expected conditions dot visibility of elements located by dot id. And this is the fluent wait WebDriver wait is equal to new fluent wait driver will pass then dot with timeout duration dot of seconds dot polling every duration dot of seconds dot ignoring no such element exception dot class wait dot until expected conditions dot visibility of element located by dot id this. So then next question is how to handle the iframes. To handle iframes in Selenium, we use driver dot switch to dot frame by index name or web element. After performing actions, we switch back using a default content or parent frame. Web element frame is equal to driver dot find element by dot id frame id driver dot switch to dot frame driver dot switch to dot default content. How to handle multiple windows or tabs. We handle multiple windows using get window handles and get window get window handles, sorry. We store the parent window loop through all the window handles, switch to the required window using switch to dot windows, and switch back after completing the actions. So basically we will first use this code driver.get window handles, and it will store in the set of strings, and variable will be all windows, right? Then we will pass all window in the array list of string array is equal to new array list all windows. And then as per the requirement we will switch driver dot switch to dot window array dot get method, and we will pass one. So one will be the child window, and get 0 will be the parent window. So when we have to move to the child window we will use as one, and when we have to move to the parent window we have to use get 0. How to handle alerts. To handle alerts in Selenium, we use driver.switch to alert. Then we use accept to click OK, and dismiss to click cancel. Send keys for prompt alerts, and get text to capture the alert message. So alert is equal to driver dot switch to dot alert and alert dot accept. So we will use alert dot accept when the OK button is there on the alert pop-up, and if there is a cancel button, then we will use alert dot dismiss method. Okay, and to get the text from on the alert message, we will use get text method. How do you handle file upload and file download? So for file upload, we use send keys to send the file path to the input type is equal to file. So whenever input type is equal to file, then only we can use this element. For file download, we configure a browser setting to set the download directory and verify the file using file class. Web element upload is equal to driver dot find element by dot id upload dot send keys, and we will use these send keys here. So all the path here. And then we have next question is what is stale element reference exception? So stale element reference exception occurs when Selenium tries to interact with an element that is no longer attached to the DOM. Usually after page refresh or dynamic updates, it can be handled by relocating the element or using the explicit wait. So next question is, how do you take screenshots in Selenium? In Selenium, we take screenshots using the text screenshot interface. We cast the driver to text screenshot and use get screenshot as method. Screenshots are commonly captured when a text fails and stored in a specific folder for reporting. Text screenshot ts is equal to text screenshot driver. File src is equal to ts.get screenshot as output type dot file. File text is equal to new file c screenshot text.png. Files.copy src.toPath, comma dex.toPath. How do you scroll using Selenium? In Selenium, scrolling is done using JavaScript executor. We use windows.scrollby to scroll by pixels, scroll to go to top or bottom, and scrolling into view to scroll to a specific element. We can also use actions class or keyboard keys for scrolling. Web element is equal to driver.find element by .id. Footer. JavaScript executor JS is equal to JavaScript executor driver js.execute script augment a dot scroll into view true, and we will use here element, the element that we have found. So these are the methods to use. This is method, very important method to scroll in the Selenium. How to validate broken links in Selenium? To validate broken links, we first collect all the anchor tags using Selenium, get their href attribute, and use HTTP URL connection to fetch the HTTP response code. If the response code is 400 or above, the link is considered broken. So the steps are collect all the links, then get href attribute, open HTTP connection, get response code, and print the broken links. How do you capture network or API calls using Selenium? Selenium cannot directly capture the network calls, but in Selenium 4 we use DevTools, Chrome DevTools protocols to capture API request and response. We can listen to request and response events and validate status codes, headers, and payloads. How do you handle calendar date picker? Calendar handling depends on implementation. If it is a simple input type date, we use send keys. If it is a customer date picker, we click the date field, navigate to the required month and year, and select the day using the dynamic XPath or loops. Driver.find element by .id .send keys 43206. What is Testng and why it is used? Testng is a Java-based testing framework used with Selenium to organize and execute test cases. It provides features like annotations, parallel execution, grouping, parameterization, dependency management, and built-in reporting, which Selenium alone does not provide. Difference between before suit, after, before test, before class, before method. Before suit runs once before the entire suit. Before test runs before each test tag in testng.xml. Before class runs once before all the test methods in a class. Before method runs before every test method. What is testng.xml? Testng.xml is a configuration file in testng used to control the test execution. It allows us to define test suite, classes, groups, parameters, and a parallel execution test setting. Suite name is equal to suite name, test name is equal to test name, classes. So these will be the two classes here, home test, login test, and then the classes test suite. So this is the XML file. This is how it looks. And how do you perform parallel execution? The next question, which says parallel execution in testng is done using the parallel attribute in testng.xml, such as test classes or methods with thread count. For thread safety, we use thread local WebDriver in framework. What is data provider? Data provider in TestNG is used for data driven testing. It allows a test method to run multiple times with a different set of data by returning a two-dimensional object array. Data provider name is equal to login data, public object, get data, and return a new object, and we will use the data like this. And then whenever we have to use, we will use at the test data provider is equal to login data, and public void login test string username string password. We have to pass these parameters, and we can print username plus password, and this will execute 3 times because we have 3 data here, and it will print username and password 3 times. Then difference between at the test priority and depends on method. So priority controls the execution order of test methods, but it does not create dependency. It will be in ascending order, like -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So from a low value to the high value like that, or in the ascending order. Depends on method creates a dependency. Depends on method creates a dependency between tests, and if the dependent method fails, the next text will be skipped. Then our next question is how to skip the test case. In TestNG, we can skip a test using enabled is equal to false by throwing skip execution at runtime using depends on method for dependency based skipping, or by excluding groups in testng.xml. So these are the 3 different methods we can use to skip a specific test case. Then what is assertions, hard versus soft assertion? Assertions is used to validate expected and actual results in TestNG. Hard assert stops execution immediately on failure, while soft assert continues execution and reports all the failures at the end using assert all. Assert equals login, comma home. Then system dot out dot println, this line will not execute. Soft asserts, soft is equal to new soft assert. So this is about soft assert. Before we need to create one variable here, and then soft dot assert equals login, comma home. System dot out dot println, this line will execute. So here it will fail directly, it will not execute the line, but it will execute. And also we have to use soft dot assert all. It is a mandatory step to execute all the print all everything, right? Then how do you group test cases? So in TestNG, we group test cases using the group attribute at the test annotation. We can include or exclude specific groups in testng.xml to execute selected test cases like smoke or regression. At the test groups is equal to smoke, a public void a login test. Then at the test groups is equal to regression, a public void payment test. Test groups is equal to smoke, regression, public void checkout test. A suit name is equal to suit, a test name is equal to smoke test groups, a run include name is equal to smoke. So this is the complete thing about how to execute the groups. How to generate TestNG reports. TestNG automatically generates default HTML reports inside the test output folder after execution. For advanced reporting with screenshots and detailed logs, we integrate tools like Extend Report or Allure in automation frameworks. So these are the important Selenium related questions, Selenium and TestNG related questions. So I hope you liked all the questions and you will prepare well so that you can easily crack the interview related to automation testing. Yeah, that is it. Thank you. Hi everyone, so in this video we'll discuss about important API testing related questions. So we will start with the very first question, what is API and what is API testing? So API is application programming interface, is a set of rules that allows two applications to communicate with each other. So API testing is a type of software testing in which we test application programming interface to verify that they are working correctly, returning the expected response and meeting the business requirements without using the UI. It focuses on testing the request, response, status codes, data and performance of the API. Then what is the second question is what are the types of APIs? So basically types of APIs based on the access, these are the actual API types: public API, private API, partner API, composite API. And types of APIs based on the architecture or protocol, so those are REST APIs, SOAP API, GraphQL API, RPC API. So what is a REST API? REST is a representational state transfer API, is a type of web API that follows a REST architecture and uses HTTP methods like GET, POST, PUT, DELETE to perform operations between client and server. It is lightweight, fast and mostly uses JSON format for sending and receiving data. What is SOAP API? SOAP API, Simple Object Access Protocol, is a protocol used to exchange data between applications using XML format over a network. It is more secure and strict than a REST and is commonly used in banking, payments, and enterprise applications. Then difference between REST and SOAP. So REST API and SOAP API, and these are the features. So full form is representational straight transfer simple object access protocol. So type is REST API is architecture, SOAP API is a protocol. Data format of the REST API is JSON XML text, and for SOAP API is XML only. So speed for the REST API is fast and lightweight. For SOAP API it's slower and heavy. Security for REST API is less secure compared to SOAP. So SOAP API is more secure. Protocol support HTTP only for REST API, and here HTTP, SMTP, TCP. These are the supports for SOAP APIs. Ease of use, easy to use. REST API is easy to use, and SOAP API is complex to use. Usage of the REST API is for web applications as well as for mobile applications. So SOAP API is used for banking and enterprise applications only. Then structure for REST API is flexible. Structure for SOAP API is strict rules. It uses visual files. Performance is high for REST API and for lower than REST for the SOAP API. So the next question is, what are the HTTP methods? HTTP methods are the actions used in API requests to tell the server that operations to perform on the data. They are mainly used in the REST APIs to perform CRUD operations. So these are create, read, update, delete. So these are the HTTP methods, and these are the operations that we perform, CRUD operations. What is get, post, put, patch, delete? So get, post, put, delete, and patch, these are the HTTP methods used in APIs to perform actions such as fetching, creating, updating, and deleting data from the server. So here we have written get method. These are the methods. These are the usage, and these are the examples. So get method, it will get the data and get the user. Post method will create the data. It will create the user. Put method will update the data, and it will update the user as well. It means, like, for example, for Amazon application or something else, it will create, it will update like that. And delete method will delete the data, and it will delete the user as well. And patch method is also partial update. It updates the name or something like that, specific date of birth or name or a photo, image, or something like that. Then what is the status code, and what are the common status codes? So status code is a number written by the server in response to an API request. It tells whether the request was successful, failed, or has some error. So 2XX series is a success response. It means 200 is okay, success. Then 201 is created, successfully created, that is successful uh, post request. 202 is successful put or patch request, that is updated. And 204 is successful delete request, that is no content. Okay, and this is successful get request to 200, right? Then 4XX series, it represents client side errors. So 400 is a bad request, 401 is unauthorized, 403 is forbidden, 404 is a not found, 405 is a method not allowed. Then 5XX is a server side errors. So the codes are like 500, it means internal server error. 502 is bad gateway. 503 is a service unavailable. 504 is a gateway timeout. What is authentication and authorization? Difference between them. Authentication means verifying who the user is. It checks the identity of the user using username and password, or OTP, or token, or key, API key, or login credentials, anything. And authorization means checking what the user is allowed to do. After login, the system checks the permissions of for the user. Here I have written the differences between authentication and authorization, and these are the features. So meaning is, authentication meaning is verify who you are. Authorization means verify what you can do. Who comes first? Authentication comes first, and authorization comes after the authentication. Then it checks the identity. Authentication checks the identity, and authorization checks the permission. Example is, for authentication, it's a login is the example, and authorization is access or rights for that user. Data used here, username, password, or token. Here it's roles or permission. For example, in real life, if you are using Netflix and you have taken subscription for like only you can watch movies in 720 pixels. So this is the when you use your credentials to log in into Netflix, that is the authentication. And when you watch movies and try to open the movie in 108 pixels, so like 180 pixels, then you will not be allowed there. So that is authorization. Only 720 pixels, because you have recharged for 720 pixels films, right? So like that. Then what is request? A request is a message sent by the client to the server containing a method URL, headers and body to perform an operation or fetch the data. What is response? Response is the message written by the server after processing the request containing status codes, headers and response data. What is base URL? So base URL is the main part of the API address that remains the same for all the endpoints. Endpoints are added after the base URL to access the different APIs. For example here, so these are the parts and these are the meanings of this. So this is the base URL, api.company.com. This will be the base URL, and then after that we will use slash users or slash login or slash orders. So those will be the endpoints, right? So what is endpoint? An endpoint is the URL of an API where the request is sent to access a specific resource. It is the point where client communicates with server. So as I explained earlier, these are the endpoints slash users. So it will open the users page and we can check all the users. Then if we use slash login after this base URL, so this is the endpoint and it will open the login page where we have to add the credentials to log in into the page, like that. So it will open the specific URL, specific page of the application. What is payload? Payload is it is the data sent in the body of a request or response in an API. It contains the actual information that we want to send to the server or receive from the server. Important definitions like header, then environment, then token, then variables, path parameter, request. These are the simple definitions that we will cover in this question. So header is a part of the HTTP request or response that contains additional information about the request or response. So headers are like authorization, send or token. So this will be the use here. Content type, it will be the data format. Accept, this is the response format. User agent is the client information. Cache control is the cache settings. So these are the headers and the use of the headers here. Then token is a unique authentication key sent with API request to verify the user and allow secure access to the server. So for example, these are the token types: bearer token, JWT token, access token, refresh token, API token. Environment is it is a setup where APIs are executed with a different configuration like dev, test, staging, production. So these are the different environments that we create in APIs, so that in each environment we can create different variables and we can use variables for our easy to use purpose. Like we can it will be very easy to run the queries and check the results. So variables it is a named value API used in API request to store the reusable data like base URL, tokens or IDs, and we can use different variables in we can use the same variable name in the different environments to avoid the confusion. Then a path parameter is a parameter that is part of the URL path and used to identify a specific resource. For example, yeah, slash uses slash 10. So this is the path parameter. Then query parameter is a key value pair after added after question mark in the URL to send extra information to the server. For example, slash uses question mark page is equal to 2. So this is the query parameter. It will open the page number 2 then. So then after that, next question is what is API documentation? API documentation is a guide that describes how to use an API, including endpoints, request format, response format, and parameters, so that developers and testers can understand how the API works. So API documentation contains a base URL, endpoints, HTTP methods, get, post, put, delete, request body or payload, headers, path parameters, query parameters, response format, status codes, authentication details. So these are the all details contains in the API documentation, so that we can easily check the APIs. What is Swagger? Swagger is a tool used for API documentation, testing and visualization for REST APIs. So it provides a UI where we can see all API endpoints and test them directly from the browser. Swagger is commonly used by developers and testers to understand and test APIs. Then what is UDDI? UDDI is a Universal Descriptive Discovery and Integration, is a directory service used to store and discover web services APIs. It allows applications to find APIs and understand how to use them. UDDI was mainly used with SOAP web service. So mainly this is used with the SOAP web service UDDI. Then positive test scenarios for to test the APIs. So these are the I have listed all the positive scenarios that we will test. So verify API with valid endpoint, verify API with correct HTTP methods, get, post, put, delete, verify API with valid request body, verify API with valid headers, verify API with valid token or authentication, verify correct status codes 200 or 201, verify correct response body, verify response time is acceptable, verify API with valid path parameter, verify API with valid query parameter, verify API returns correct data format JSON or XML. Then negative test scenarios. Negative scenarios means testing with invalid data or wrong request. So invalid endpoints, a wrong HTTP method, missing request body or invalid request body, missing header or invalid token or no authentication, expired token, invalid path parameter, invalid query parameter, sending special characters, sending empty values, sending large data, unauthorized access, invalid content type. Check error status codes 400, 401, 403, 405, 404, 405, 500. API timeout or server timeout, wrong data type, string instead of number, duplicate request, null types, null values. Check APIs without required fields. So these are the different negative scenarios that we will check in the API. Last question, that is difference between API and web service. So these are the features API and web service. So definition is API is a set of rules that allows applications to communicate. Web service is a type of API that works over the web, and network required, not always required for APIs but always required network for the web services. Protocols can use any protocol. It uses HTTP or SOAP or REST APIs, REST protocols, sorry. Format is a JSON XML text format. So format in web service is mostly XML or JSON. Then scope is broader term in API, and in web service is a subset of API. Then internet required, not necessary for APIs, and it's required for web service. Then example is a library API or API OS API, REST API. So those are the APIs, and SOAP API, REST web service, those are the web services examples. So this is the complete list of important API testing related questions and answers. So prepare well and you can easily crack the interview related to API. Yeah, that is it. Thank you.